Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Deep Space Nine Reactions. I am Fred. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. For those who are new here, I am watching every episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine in broadcast order. Let me rephrase that. I'm actually rewatching every episode of DS9. It is my favorite Star Trek series, and the format of these particular videos is as follows. I do a running commentary, reaction, general knowledge, anything I know about the episode, and things that happen either later in the series and so forth, I'm going to openly talk about. Heavily spoilers, and but if the episode's particularly good and gets me invested, I will definitely, this definitely becomes more reactionary than one would assume. Unfortunately, because of DMCA issues and because the fact that I do cover the entire episode in full, for those who are just watching this, and I blur it out, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner of your screens. It's from my perspective, it's to my left as far as I'm motioning this way. So it's blurred out. You might hear some ambient audio being picked up by my microphone as it relates to my speakers because I don't watch shows or movies with headphones on. I don't. I do enough. I wear enough I wear headphones for working and gaming. I'm not gonna wear headphones when it comes to doing this stuff outright here. But hell, we are what well into 3 seasons. We're 3 seasons in by now. You know how I do things, especially those who have been here a while. Anyway, this week's episode is Life Support, episode 13 of season 3. What do I remember about this episode? Um, well, first and foremost is basically it's the last appearance of Vedic Bareil. No, I take that back. He does the character. Another version pops up in a mirror universe episode, I believe. But in terms of Prime Universe, Vedic Bareil is his last on-screen appearance. They kill him off here. This is also an episode that submits Kai Wynn's devious, self-serving nature more and more, which I believe also comes into play with another episode here in season 3. But I can't fully remember which one that would be. Anyway, I want to get into the episode proper here. All right. Jake roaming the promenade, and they actually have him in a decent outfit. Oh, Jake has another girlfriend. I guess he got over the Dabo girl. I realize this is how tall Sarah Lofton is here. And it's finally at this point they start putting him in decent outfits. That's a nice sweater with the pants combo. Although he was a bit of a beanpole, wasn't he? Wait, is this also the episode that has Nog making a bunch of rather sexist comments as to way how Ferengi treat women? But it's also nice for Jake to be asked out on a date. He's gonna have dinner at the Klingon restaurant and they're not gonna have Ga? How rude! That's like going to an Italian restaurant and not having pasta, some form of pasta. Also, everything's being done in one long shot too, up until where they cut from the promenade to the hallway. There was some sort of, but there was some sort of accident on board. There's like a loose plasma coil. There was an accident on the Bajoran transport, and this is where Bareil will be injured. But that was also a great opening scene with Jake and him getting a date. and then cutting to like the doors for Odo's offices opening with O'Brien, Odo, and some security dudes running out, and a nice tracking shot that led to the docking ring scene. The Vedic, take care of the Vedic! And it is carrying Barao out. Somehow he is the only one who is heavily injured. And Odo's first thing, call Kira. Get Kira down to the infirmary. Alright, and so it's like hell of a hook there. Nice slow, and as the rock goes for flying through space in the opening credits, let's get some of the usual rigmarole and business out of the way. Of course, as many of you know, I do stream live 7 nights a week over on Twitch, 5 p.m. Eastern start time on Saturdays and Sundays, and 9:30 p.m. start time Mondays to Fridays. Currently, at this time, we are featuring Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Yakuza Like a Dragon, and Resident Evil 5. Chances are we will be wrapping up Resident Evil 5 in this upcoming week, and we'll figure out what we'll be featuring on Wednesdays. And we're still a ways away from wrapping up the other two very, very large games. Of course, if you would like to donate and help keep the lights on here at the channel, you can. There is a PayPal donation link in the description below. As many of you know, we had a plumbing crisis here, and folks donated via the GoFundMe and helped resolve that particular issue. So again, we're not begging; we're just asking. If you be so kind, you can donate a few bucks that way. I'm not putting a Patreon on this channel because let's face it, y'all deserve better than that. We might do the membership thing as this channel grows, which also means like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe so we can get to that point. Maybe someday, who knows? As we get back to the episode proper, as the credits come to a close. Also, more of military-esque hairstyling for Kira too. I also have to wonder, when was this episode filmed in relation to a particular incident that Nana Visitor found herself in? There was an incident that was covered in Nana Visitor's book about the women of Star Trek that I know was around the time of the filming of the episode Heart of Stone, but I'm not sure as it relates to the filming of this episode. And I'm not going to go into heavily into that. But Nana Visitor has talked about what happened to her in sometime in 1994 that kind of changed a lot of her perspective as it relates to how she acted during the filming of DS9 for the remainder of the series, particularly on the back half of season 3. And here we see those ridiculous red surgical outfits that often we'll see in a few times. Often, I only seen a handful of times over on the Next Generation, never on Voyager. But and I say it's ridiculous with those red surgical outfits because there is no mask. There is no mask. You're still talking. I get it. You mouth obscure and everything. Got to show the commotion and stuff, but no surgical mask or anything. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but meanwhile, up in Cisco's office, Cisco being like shocked that Kai Wynn is negotiating a peace treaty with Cardassia. It's like, yeah, hard to believe that. But it's really Vedic Barao has been doing all the work for 5 months. So the question is, though, was it sabotage or not? Because what are the odds that only Barao would be the one heavily injured on that Bajoran on that transport to the station? You think about it, in the words of Croc, like it just doesn't make any sense. And Cisco just said, "Don't take this the wrong way," but he never would have guessed that Kai Wynn would have been the one to bring such a bold vision of peace to Bajor. And at least she admits that a large share of the credit goes to Baral, that without him, none of the talks would have gotten this far. And it's like, he has been a loyal and trustworthy aide. And when is forgiving that she would not have been so forgiving if she was in his place regarding everything as relates to who was the collaborator, that being Kai Opaka, that Baral threw away his chance to become Kai to protect the legacy of Kai Opaka. No, and again, getting back to Kira's look and not a visitor's look, she goes through a number of different hairstyles over the course of Deep Space Nine, which is amazing, like considering how short her hair generally is. They're all short, neat, cropped, and everything. It is it is amazing, like how many different looks she had, and there is a consistency to them, as opposed to the inconsistencies with another redhead, particularly Captain Janeway over on Voyager, who seemed to change hairs like every other flipping week. But hey, there at least Baral is technically dead, and it's time for the autopsy. And Baral is. What was this? Like, Baral says, "I ain't dead yet." I know a lot of folks have not liked the acting of the actor who played Baral. It's just like it's very wooden and everything. But hey, he's a religious figure. It's like he it's I think he played the role fairly well. It's just that he and Kira had like no chemistry by and large. But it's like his brain is still working. His nerves are still transmitting the impulses to his brain. Just gotta jumpstart it. Like, Baral is literally brain dead, but the rest of his body is still working. So, which either says a lot about Bajoran physiology, or how badly written the medical terminology is for this episode to try and justify its plot. But whatever. But there is some logic there to it. It's like, hey, Baral's been in stasis for 40 minutes. It's like, hey, some membranes they're strengthened. It's like, hey, you can just stick somebody in stasis, and like you can gradually make them better and figure out some way to make things work. Now, I think they kind of use, if memory serves me right with this episode, they kind of use like the idea, the concept of a positronic brain to try and get Baral up and going again, where it becomes, and granted, I say positronic brain is what what's in Data's head and everything. And it put, but there's, as far as I know, there was only one other instance where like the idea of a positronic brain being put into like a humanoid body was done, and that was in the novel Q Squared by Peter David. There is a where there's like three versions of Data: two android, one human. The human has a full-on positronic brain. Hey, Baral is waking up after he shocked the brain. Like, where am I? Granted, but hey, it's a little early to tell, but hopefully he can make a full recovery and he'll be back on his feet and again in a few weeks. It's like, it's not every doctor that can lose a patient and have him back on his feet in a few weeks. Well, Dr. Crusher and Dr. McCoy did it all the damn time. Like somehow Bashir made a miracle. Like the radiation did all the work. It made it possible. Yeah, Baral's back because his work is not finished. They have to resume the negotiations immediately. They can't risk losing the momentum. Yeah, but this is where this episode comes into a problem where I genuinely have a problem with this episode. Is that Baral is like in no condition to conduct any negotiations, and that but it's like yeah, Baral is just is just advising him. But like Baral should not be anywhere near negotiations. He should be sent back to Bajor to recuperate. So like they're gonna play spring ball next month. It's like he's gonna be playing. Akira's gonna be playing against a dead man. But no, she's been practicing. It's a nice, adorable little scene there. With Varao literally being on his deathbed. And Jake needs to cancel plans with Nog, not the Nog for the day. So this is the episode where Nog makes some rather unfortunate comments here. It's like, here's the problem. Not that like Jake has a date. Like it's like there's conflicting plans between the Nausicaans and Jake wanting to go on a date. And then some Nog forcing his way into said date. Money is money. The women are better. Is it a rule of acquisition? It's a personal rule. Well, at least it's a rule Nog appreciates there. Jake is Nog is at least proud that Leanne is like Jake got hooked up with Leanne. And it's like Nog is asking is for a date. It's like you got a date for him? Like Nog telling Jake that he was confused. Would you rather the three of us go out? It's like Nog is not getting the message here. And thankfully, this is the last time. This is the and this is also an episode. It's like the more and more I'm remembering as I'm watching this, as Nog is telling Jake not to do anything to embarrass him. This is like the last time Nog is particularly irritating. Matter of fact, no, this is the only time Nog is really damn irritating. It's like Burrell is trying to give, and again, speaking of infuriating, Kai Wynn trying to force Burrell into being more heavily involved. And she's like almost like she comes across as being hell bent on sabotaging the negotiations. And Bashir does not look happy at all. Yeah, Bashir's not going to here to give him a good report. Like, what did he had a flood broad system with a neurogenic radiation, which is called a kind of a selective fast constriction of the arteries and inadequate blood flow to his internal organs. Brown has to go back into stasis, do some research on the condition, but for how long? And Bashir does not know. Days, weeks, even months, and with the peace, with the negotiation, and It's like Baral is not going to find it acceptable, and he can't allow himself to be put into storage, and you can't blame him. Baral is at least attempting to move things forward. Like he's willing to sacrifice himself. It's like, and Bashir's, as a doctor, Bashir's first duty is to Baral as his patient, while at the same time, Baral's first duty is to the people of Bajor, and it's the only thing that matters to him. So it, but again, the look, and this is a credit to Alexander Siddig, the look on Bashir's face is like he's very conflicted about this entire thing. He's telling, but there's an experimental drug that might be able to help Baral function normally for a while. But there's a great deal of risk attached to it. A lot. What sort of risk? He's going to die? There's a 20% chance that this drug would severely damage the patient's lungs, kidneys, even heart. So just like every other medication on the market in the United States, because of how badly Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has fucked things up for with the in his own right there. You're asking why would Baral risk his life for a few days, and it makes sense from Baral's point of view that he does not want to die, but if he can guarantee years of peace for the people of Bajor, it's like why not? It's like one of the big common themes in Star Trek is the good of the many is more important than the good of the one, and Baral is thinking in the big broad picture. Again, Bashir is not happy about this situation in the slightest. Like, he's hoping he does not regret it. Let's also remind everyone that for Vedic Baral, there is, in the action figures that were released for DS9, there is one of Vedic Baral. I actually own one. It's currently upstairs in a box, but mint condition in box too. Meanwhile, at the negotiation table in the conference room, there are no official prisoners being held by the Kardashians, but there are a number of, shall we say, detainees, people who are, in various moons. But that's a discussion for another time. That crimes against the state of Cardassia, that's a whole other thing here. Now, like, Cardassia is willing to pay for the destruction of all Bajoran property incurred during the occupation, as long as they will be willing to return to them all the Cardassian property and equipment left behind on Bajor. Now, what kind of sort of property is like they're going to provide with a list of material, what type of material, equipment, as long as yeah, like anything left of Cardassian origin that belongs to the Cardassian people will be returned. And Kai Wen will consider the offer, which is actually reasonable there, because currently, if Bajor is lining up with things with the Federation, you could just replace the Cardassian stuff with Federation tech. And it's like he's up to, and she when thinking that the Cardassian Legate Terrell, I think Legate Terrell is up to something, but what is he up to? Why is he insisting on this principle of his? Because it makes sense. Baral knows the entire negotiating record. So if Baral's been talking with Terrell for months, what the hell has Wynn been doing this entire time? Like, if she's been involved in the negotiations, but not directly, has she not been reviewing Baral's reports and any notes that he had? And Wynn saying that she's been chosen by the prophets to lead the people, and that she's not meant to be a diplomatic leader. No, it was like she insisted to be Kai, And it's like, yeah, which is the spiritual leader of Bajor. He was like the figurehead, the principal of the state. The irony here is that Kai Wen would assume like the main leadership political role on Bajor as well a bit later in the series. So this is there is a lot of irony here that long term as it relates to Win as a character. When you're looking at it in the context of this episode, it's like, yeah, she knows exactly what she was doing. And not saying is like the date that she talks a lot for a female. Riska, the girl for Naga owns a bar, uncle's on a bar on elsewhere. It's like Jake is trying to make it work. And Jake asking him, what is Nog doing? That he knows Nog knows how to handle females. No, Nog knows how to handle Ferengi women, not women in general, especially of different species. It's like Nog is insisting to take him to a holosuite to borrow one of his uncle's programs. That they can spend an hour pillaging and looting the frightened townspeople. And not telling her that like no one's asking her to think, and telling her to make yourself used to the cupboard as food. No, because normally it's like to chew the food. And Nog is so damn oblivious. He has three people looking at him. It's like everyone's thinking Nog is joking. And he says that she's so dumb. And says that she's perfect. And like they're storming off. Nog just shot him in the proverbial foot. That's a storm off. It's like, boy, Nog just ruined everything. And again, the very next episode from here is Heart of Stone, where Nog goes to Cisco to apply to to get his endorsement for Star Trek. And Nog is just storming off, like being mad that Jake was treating him. Not saying like Jake is in the wrong for treating a woman like an equal, which is like is what you're supposed to do. It's like it is again. This this is such a bad episode, and I don't like the Nog Jake subplot to this episode. Some people do. It's like yes, it's like boys being boys and everything, but this is Nog at his lowest, and then we're going to be seeing, and which is saying a lot when you consider the siege of AR 548, I believe, and it's only a paper moon much later in the series where you say, oh, no, that's Nog at his lowest point. No, as a character, this episode is Nog at his absolute lowest. And okay, so here's something else that is pissing me off at the moment with this episode. When telling Bashir to give Baral more of the drug so he can give her all the information he needs, and like all he cares about is his patient, and he needs more treatment and less politics. Now, so he's either going to leave, she's either going to leave willingly, or he's going to call security. And here comes Kira to back up to escort Win out. It's like rather than putting his attention in the hands of the prophets, it's like Morale is basically is on death's door. Granted, he's already died, but the fact that he's lucid enough to actually give her any information, feedback, notes, advice on handling the negotiations is a small miracle at this point in time. I do like this line Burrell saying, it's like, I started to hate that look on your face, Doctor. And unfortunately, the drug has been doing the damage to Burrell's organs. He can replace now. Bashir can replace the damaged organs. As long as he's taking his drug, he can't guarantee that damage won't spread. So he has to reconsider putting him allowing being put in spaces. And Burrell's mind is made up. Burrell just wants to get through the negotiations. He must carry out the will of the prophets. It's not at this point. It's not so much the will of the prophets. It's more of Burrell just wanting to do what it takes to make sure Bajor has a future of some kind, where they're not their hands aren't tied by the memory of the occupation. Meanwhile, in the negotiating room, Bashir is going to have words with Kai Wynn. And she's like, "Are you going to call security and have me removed?" And from Bashir, that hasn't occurred to him yet. So at least the organ replacement went well, but he's still unconscious. But and Morale's going to be up in about an hour. And when it's like, "Oh, good." There's several points that she has to discuss with him. And that's why he's here. Like, when you see, she once said, when you see Bra, that she can complete the negotiations without him. It's like, Wynn does need him. But it's like, tell him that he doesn't. It's like, Wynn is asking, you asking me to lie? As if she has not lied, cheated, and stolen and to get to her position where she's at. Like, if it's a lie, then so be it. Like Wynn saying, it's like, it doesn't sound like a Starfleet officer because Bashir's a doctor first, and he's trying to give his patient the best chance to live. The only way for Barat to live is for it to be put in spaces, and he knows that. None of that wants that to happen. Nobody wants Barat to die. And when it said that the decision regarding Barat's treatment is up to him, yes. And as the patient, it's his choice to make. Bashir is like trying to get him to change his mind so he can live. And Wynn is seeing this as an opportunity. The fact that she stands up, turns away. Like, she's the kind. These are her negotiations. Let this be her moment in history. Bashir of trying to stroke her ego. Because we all know Kai Wynn has a huge ego. Like successes might be guaranteed. But if the talks fail, someone is going to accept the blame, and it's going to be Bareil, a scapegoat, and Bashir realizing it, calling her a coward outright to her face that Kai Wynn is afraid to stand alone. Yeah, Kai Wynn has played this perfectly. He's like, "Doctor." He's like, "You won't forget what he said there." And neither will Bashir. It's another strong moment for Bashir. Again, when you remember how Bashir is kind of like a very one-dimensional and a blank slate for season one, to give him like some heavy moments like this one that really like lays out his strengths of character. And it makes a father-son scene with Jake and Cisco. It was like with Jake being, it's like he's been so embarrassed. It's like, but Cisco's going to point out that Nog was just acting like a Ferengi. It's like, you can't blame Nog for acting like a Ferengi. And Jake saying this, like, maybe Cisco was right all along about humans and Ferengis who would never be friends. And Cisco saying that he remembers saying that, and he was wrong. Jake and Nog prove that they have cultural differences, but there's a real bond between them. It's like the one thing you got to remember: never do a double date again. And Cisco pointed out that they should talk it over before it becomes too big of a problem. Because the only other time Jake and Nog really butt heads is when Nog returns from Starfleet Academy and they get quarters together. And that's what sometime in season four, back in the season 4, no, season 5, I think that happens. Meanwhile, Bareil is suffering. There's like no visitors for the next 3 hours. Bareil called Kai Wynn for the. It's like Vedic Wynn coming in there because Bareil summoned her to because he had some ideas, and Bashir just snapping at her. Like, and because of Kai Wynn, morale is, yeah, damage that the drug has taken on him is completely irreversible. Again, will he regain consciousness? Not in his present conditions. And Winston's like, "Oh, you were able to replace some of his internal organs. Can't you do something similar for with the damaged parts of his brain?" Yeah, there's a great deal of the way the brain operates that they don't understand, not even in the 24th century. But if they begin to replace parts of Barrow's brain with artificial implants, that spark may be lost as it relates to life. So Barrow will either never regain consciousness and he'll die, or get the brain implants, and there's no real chance that he can live. Like no matter what the cost, the negotiation must be completed, but it's going to be at the expense of Barrow's life. And yes, Barrow is willing to die for these negotiations. That is Barrow's standpoint because he's looking at his last gasp here. But the fact that Kai Wynn is openly willing to sacrifice him is insane. And Sally Kira is having is taking that same viewpoint. It's like the importance of the negotiations, and that it's like Barrow does not want to be put in stasis. It's like yes, Barrow. It's like yes, Kira having Barrow's point of view on this, I can understand because but Kai Wynn having backing Barrow's position is totally out of selfish reasons. It's it's nuts. Oh yeah, Jake going to Odo's like he wants to be arrested. Odo's like, huh? And it's like the only way to get them in the same room together was to throw both Jake and Nog into a holding cell. But I'm saying he has an eyewitness that saw them both breaking into the Tholian's ambassador quarters last night. Nog doesn't even know what a Tholian looks like. Technically, no one knows what a Tholian looks like by and large. Yeah, like Odo's like, hey, sorry, Nog, if you're upset with the quarters, feel free to complain to management. Lisa's forcing them Jake setting things up to be forced into a room together. And the positronic brain implant is working and the midbrain interface is online. Again, I was right about the positronic brain factor being put into place there. But yeah, it's not really going to be Barrow's. Like, part of Barrow is gone. Like, his memories are there, but how is he feeling? He's awake, but as they can tell, something is different. Like, in what way is it different? Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's like he doesn't have like the same feeling or emotions anymore. Like it doesn't seem real with how she's holding his hand. Like, he has a distant memory. Like Bashir told him he's not going to be the same Barrow. Like, and here comes Wing. Do you remember the negotiations? And she has some questions for him. Of course, he remembers the negotiation. Yeah, he'll do all that he can, but he's definitely more robotic. Meanwhile, back in the holding cell, Jake and Nog have yet to say two words to each other. Unless Jake is waiting for Nog to say something first. Not really, something is wrong. Like, Ram told Nog once if he ever got caught stealing anything again, he'll be sent back to the Ferengi homeworld. He'll be sent back to Ferengi to live with Moogie, aka his grandmother, Ishka. Where's Quark? Where's Ram? Like, Nog knows something is wrong here. Like, what? Nog is putting the pieces together. Nog is putting all the pieces together. You don't just arrest the commander strung without some really strong evidence. And Nog knows there is no evidence because Nog knows they didn't do anything. Like, well, Jake was right. There was no way Nog was going to listen to him anywhere else unless they were in the room together. Was no escape. It's like Jake forgot that Nog was a surgery. The ears are a dead giveaway. But they seem so much alike that it's like Jake totally forgot about there some differences between the two. And Nog knows the difference. Anyone who talks to a female with fawning respect is no Ferengi. It made Nog sick. He was like, Nog, hold on, you want to talk about sick? Sick is making risk. I cut up your food for you. Well, at least he didn't have her chew it. That's because of Ferengi home world. In traditional Ferengi homes, females often soft the food with their teeth before they're giving it to the males, which is disgusting, like baby birds. It's like Nog at least took the more liberal approach. Hey, just cut the food. Is there any other Ferengi traditions that Jake should know about? Well, at least they both discuss each other. And as they get older, it's only going to get worse. But the one thing he knows for sure, he was don't want to lose him as a friend, which is a fine. It's a nice recollection here of them coming back around full circle regarding this silly argument and thing. But again, seeing Nog, again, when you know the path that Nog is, the trajectory Nog is going to go on, starting with the very next episode, is like it's this is like this is just a it's almost like character assassination, but it's like, yes, let's just make Nog at his absolute possible worst, and then put him on a path on an upward trajectory. Hey, but they're able to get the peace treating sign, and the Kai Wynn was able to complete the negotiations. Lega Terrell signed the peace treating. There's a big celebration. There's a shockwave to the quadrant regarding everything. It is also amazing that Gul Dukat would want to just try and reconquer Bajor in his own way because of his own ego. But Bashir is not in the mood. It's like, considering everything Bashir had to do as it relates to Baral, he is not in the mood to celebrate. Like Bashir did everything he could. It's like he respected the wishes of Baral, so that's the so. But, but Bashir does not see himself as being as just being not being a good thing. Hey, Quark appears in this episode. Quark is here to present the Kai Wynn as like a new dish. In honor of the occasion, he named his latest creation after her. A chocolate souffle with what? Heligian tongue sauce. It's like it looks like a big pie. The funny thing is here, this souffle thing that Quark made looks like a big pile of shit, which is like a perfect representation of Kai Wynn. Medical emergency, Dr. Bashir to the emergency, and here comes Baral's death scene. Oh, and here comes Kai Wynn hoping to head off there. The other half of the brain is going. Here's saying, can we replace the other half of Vedic Baral's brain with a polyphonic matrix? And Bashir's like, no, this is where it ends. They're like, what do you mean? He won't remove whatever is left, shred of humanity Baral is left. But Bashir can do it. And Kai Wen saying, "Oh, now it's time to listen to Dr. Bashir." It's like, and Kira's really like, "She go, Kai Wen got the peace in treating, and she doesn't need Baral anymore." Like Wen's saying she shares her pain. No, she doesn't. Like Baral and Bashir was basically pointing this out this entire time. Like Gwen saying like, "Oh, she'll make sure Bajor never forgets Baral and everything he's done." Yeah, by making him a damn footnote. It's Kira pleading is like that, saying Bashir, you can't give up now. You have to keep going. Like Bashir, if he removes the rest of his brain and replace it with a machine, it may look like Baral. He may even talk like Baral, but he won't be Baral. That's the spark of life will be gone. He'll be dead, and it's like, and that was where the earlier scene comes in, where it's like Baral saying like the memory of a touch felt like it's something else entirely. It's like he'll die like a man. Currently, he'll die like a man, not a machine. Otherwise, he would live out his rest of his days as a machine. So that would be looking like a man. So just let Baral go. And again, for a character that's been reoccurring, like it's a hell of a way to write the character off. And like and one could argue it probably wasn't necessary to write him off, but at least it opens the door for other things, because again, the very next episode is Heart of Stone, which really drives forth the relationship of Oda openly admitting that to the female changeling in the next episode that he's in love with Nerys. So there is that factor that's coming into play. And it's like one last final scene with Kira, like giving Baral a kiss. And it's kind of funny, not funny, but it's like over the course of a couple of episodes, in the first few seasons, Kira loses Kai Opaka, loses Vedic Baral, has a lot of bonding moments with a lot of like major important Bajorans, such as the one that was on the moon. So it despite Baral being a Kira centered character, like a character associated with Kira, a lot of this episode does not have her directly interacting with Baral, but it's such a great send off with her getting like a closing monologue saying it's like she knew, like when she talked about how she felt when she first saw him, and saying that she knew that she loved him and everything. There's a lot there. But boy, this is and it's a great episode in its way of making the me as the viewer infuriated, both with Kai Wynn and also by Nog throughout the course of this episode. So there is that. The writers did their job, the actors did their job of making sure all that was properly conveyed. So it's an episode that can really get one worked up, especially when one thinks in broader terms and know where things are going. It's like, oh boy, it's like it is so. You definitely want that from anything that you watch, where it makes you feel something. And you could argue, if I wasn't watching it for the purposes of recording a video, uh, discussing it, would it have the same impact? And the answer is yes, it would. This is like you would want to fast forward, skip to the scenes. Anyway, obviously next week's episode is going to be Heart of Stone, and I'm obviously going to have a lot to say about that, especially as relates to Nog in that episode. I'm also not sure if I should openly discuss the thing regarding Nana Visitor, because again, the timing of certain things. Again, if you've read her book where she talked about regarding the women of Star Trek, you know exactly what I am referring to. So there is. So the big question is of the timing of things and when they occurred. Because I believe from her point of view that she says that Heart of Stone was almost like the turning point as relates to what happened to her and in the filming schedule of DS9. Anyway, on that bombshell, we are going to wrap this up here. If you made it to the very end, thank you for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Tighten your friendship bracelets, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next episode.